me they're going to cut off my electricity. And so I don't know how to get a fair bill. I just send enough money every month to keep my electricity on. So I'm hoping that the ratepayer advocate will help people like me. I don't even know what to do.
Let me answer your question in this way. We're also working through the Committee on Energy and Environment on a whole billing simplification process, and actually started from someone who had a situation that was very similar to yours. She happened to be a lawyer and retired. She had lots and lots of time to sit down and work with the department to try to simplify the billing process, and we'll be producing a new process pretty soon to the City Council so they can put it through final approval. I don't know where you live, but if you want to, Silver Lake, okay. If you want to allow us to use your situation as an example, and maybe possibly even as a byproduct, see if we can get some help, you're free to email me the details, and I'll give you my card afterwards.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more cards?
Yeah, but I think we came in.
Thanks for coming to Eagle Rock. I really appreciate being right here and making it easier for us to participate. I just had a couple of comments and actually just one question. As far as pay parity goes, you've got to be really careful because you say for the same job classification, but there's very few classifications that line up between DWP and the rest of the city. And believe me, DWP is very clever, and all they have to do is change one little name in the title, and suddenly that job doesn't match up with basically the similar job in the city. So I think there's an opportunity for manipulation there, and you're going to have people doing the same function. The job title is different, and lo and behold, the increased salary at DWP continues on. Also, in terms of pensions, that's a very important issue. I'm glad that one of the reform addressed that. I also hear stories that people didn't want to go on the record about, but where folks at a high level at the police department, they retire with a nice, generous police department pension. They go over and get hired by their pals over at DWP to be some security expert at fairly high level, and with a very short order they qualified for another very fat pension from DWP, and that's why you have people getting really big, generous pensions at the expense of the taxpayer. So I hope that kind of thing is addressed. I think it is, because it takes longer to be invested. Right, is that correct? My question now for you is, I would love to know at this point, are there any proposals for how the ratepayer advocate would be selected? And I'll take my answer.
We haven't finalized a process because we wanted to get through the whole city and then be able to produce a document. We're working on basic principles. The chief legislative analyst will produce it in the form of a motion for us to introduce to the city council so we have public discussion and debate. So, other than some very general concepts like an independent entity, not beholden to the department, qualifications or experience, facilitator of consumer protection, especially when dealing with rate issues, review and assess rate actions on behalf of ratepayers, be funded at a rate that allows them to complete its task that position, and then the general concept of making sure the public is given facilitated access to the ratepayer advocate and rate utility information used by the DWP. But again, we as a collective, deliberative, legislative body haven't put that on the record as yet or debated it, but it's just some thoughts. So that's why we're still gathering. It's an information gathering exercise from the public to us.
I think along those lines, let me engage. That was quick. Let me just go through those words one at a time, folks. And I think that these would have widespread approval right now. We don't have a quorum of the committees here to be able to adopt them formally, so we'll wait probably for the committee to do that. But one is that being an independent entity. I think people have spoken loud and clear that if it is something that's either captured by the department itself, we can't really monitor the department if it has to report to the department. So the independence is critical. Second, that there be some sort of threshold for what that qualifications and experience for ratepayer advocate at his or her office be. And by the way, that principle isn't in here, but I would add to this that I think we would all agree that it not be one person, that this needs to be an office, that one person by him or herself cannot do all of this work. It'll have to be robust enough that they would have a staff. Next, in terms of consumer protection, and especially with dealing with rates issues, one of the things I've heard, and this is just kind of active listening more than adoption of these tonight, is folks have said very strongly, even the most critical people at the Department of Water and Power, we're not hiring somebody to get us the cheapest rates possible, because we can get the cheapest rates no matter what, but those will come at a price. We've often spoken, or some have spoken of the long-term cost of living cheaply. For instance, we could get very cheap power right now that could pollute our air. It could be difficult to people around us that would never get us off of coal. But what we do want is the lowest rates for those policy decisions we decide collectively are in the interest of the people of Los Angeles and where the department should go. I think Jack, mentioned that from the neighborhood councils. It's not that we want the cheapest power at any cost. It's we want the lowest price power for what this department is doing. We know that there will be increases. It's not that there will never be increases. It's when those increases are proposed. Earlier this year in the spring, when it was proposed that we had to have up to what would have been over a 30% increase in our power rates, the council said no. We didn't say no to any rate increase whatsoever, but lo and behold, it was our suspicion that that wasn't as necessary as we were told, and certainly a new acting general manager was able to look at cost-cutting measures for other places, and to have for the rest of the year no other proposed power rate increases. So I think we've seen these are policy decisions, not just, hey, here's the information, vote it up or down.